Hello, good evening to you. Welcome to Business. Executive Director of the Third World Network Africa, Dr. Yao Graham, is asking Ghana and other West African countries to demand a renegotiation of the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. This is because the decision by one of the biggest markets, Britain, to exit the Union will be a disadvantage to countries that have already signed the pact. There's more in this report.
Ghana signed the Economic Partnership Agreement last year to obtain access to the European market duty-free, quota-free on all products exported, with the exception of rice and sugar. Even though the deal was supposed to be for the entire West African region, the biggest economy, Nigeria, declined to be part of it, citing unfavorable market conditions. According to Dr. Yao Graham, the deal was signed at the time when Britain was part of the European Union. However, since Britain has begun moves to opt out of the Union, it won't be prudent for Ghana and other African countries to go back to the negotiation table.
Because it constitutes almost a force majeure in terms of the assumptions underlying the EPA. And really, in that sense, in addition to all the other problems, African countries have a legitimate case for saying, this is not what we signed up to. Let's go back to the table. And there are some voices in Europe who are saying the same thing. If we did that, then we'll be improving the climate for how the CFTA could be ultimately beneficial to African countries. Brexit means Europe has left. For many countries, Britain is the biggest market. If they are no longer part of the European Union, then it's a major dislocation of the understanding. It provides an occasion for us to go back and say, let's renegotiate this CPA.
He explains that the deal at its current stage will affect the recently signed African Free Continental Trade Agreement between 44 African countries.
So the foundations of the CFTA in terms of the trade regime is problematic. It has led to some very radical and accelerated things, which are the reasons why some countries are not happy with the content. Secondly, the process has been flawed. It's been rushed in a corner by a few technocrats and a few regional institutions, and has not had the discussion that it should have in country, so that people understand why this thing is necessary and the consequences and repercussions of signing these agreements.
There are, however, fears that all these agreements could have negative impacts on the industrialization agenda of government.
British High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker, says the UK government will be prioritizing massive investments in Ghana's general infrastructure, oil and gas, as well as agri sectors. The High Commissioner equally wants Ghanaian investors to acquire adequate knowledge about opportunities existing in the UK before they take up such investments. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Ian Walker said he believes attracting the right caliber of Ghanaian investors to the UK will be in the mutual interest of both countries.
It seems to me the direction of travel is a good one. It always takes two to tango. My side of the bargain is I will keep on bringing British business here, I will keep on bringing British finance here, but we need to, in the next very short while, turn that into very real consequences, and I think that's very much on the Government of Ghana's mind as well. I think we see people bringing intellectual capital and real capability and real opportunity, but I think that the gap I see is one of finance, and I think leading with finance is key, and expertise. And I think that knowledge transfer, that building and continuing to kind of grow the expertise, whether in oil and gas, in technical training, for example, which I know we're doing a lot of work on just now, but across other sectors as well. We are really keen to kind of keep that knowledge transfer. That is what I think the UK brings to the table. We do not want to be bringing in hundreds of UK citizens to come and work in Ghana. That's not what we want. I think we want to hand in hand with Ghana, bringing what the UK can bring, but allying that with what Ghana wants, needs, and we believe together it's significantly stronger.
Thank you very much for staying. Welcome back. Now, players in the architectural industry have been urged to take their businesses a step further by harnessing technology and innovation to their advantage. Founder and principal architect of Ajay Associates, Sir David Ajay, says the only way architecture can shoot ahead and make more gains in the economy is through modernization. He was speaking to Inshirado on the Executive Lounge. Here's an excerpt.
architecture is like a challenge. You always have to lift the scales up. It's not about accepting the context of what you're in, but architecture, when it works well, always pushes the game to the next level. You know, so for instance, in the master plan we're doing for Marine Drive, you know, we're proposing an idea in Ghana, which has not been tried anywhere on the continent, actually, and that's to create a dense smart city plan that kind of follows a certain kind of morphology to do with the coastline and a certain kind of idea there, but to create and to reclaim a public life for Ghanaians on their own asset, their own waterfront, beyond just it being that colonial kind of fear of the place where slaves were taken and the place which are the poor, where the poor are, etc. But to really reclaim that as part of our heritage of public life. And to also then create an architecture which lifts the construction industry past their limits. So, you know, some of the questions are, oh, well, we don't have cranes for that, or we don't have firemen who can hose it. Well, actually, the technology exists now to bring it to the next level. And by bringing that aspiration to the continent, you bring those industries also, because they follow. You know, if we start to kind of make ambitious architecture, the technology will follow us, and then we will master that technology, and we will become the leaders of the technology. Innovation, that word innovation, is very important. It drives everything, and there's entropy in the West because they've built their cities, and they've kind of, it's so expensive to do more that it's really difficult for them to be innovative now. They're sort of in a kind of crumbling infrastructure, whereas we haven't. So our poverty, in a way, for me, I said, has become an opportunity to leapfrog. Massively, but the only way you leapfrog is through innovation, and that innovation, you know, as Africans, we're really wonderful at embracing new technologies and new forms, and we can master those technologies, and if we're the ones innovating on our land, we will be the leaders. If we're continually just taking what has already been done and bringing it in, we will always be second best. So that move is very important. And so that, for me, you know, in all the commissions I've been given, is to always say, look, obviously we're not going to push you to where you can't do it, but push the envelope up so that we can train more people to have excellence. We can bring industries that understand that excellence is required, and that will spread throughout the system and shift the game. So shift the level of construction in this country, shift the level of support in this country, shift the level of understanding about environmental issues, cultural issues, etc.
You can watch the full interview on Saturday on the Journey channel at 6 p.m. with a repeat telecast on Sunday at 8 p.m. And that's a wrap for business. My name is Emmanuel Abuachi. Yeah, we have a great weekend.